This is section 3.03 from Unit 3 Notes, Part 1, Correlation. Today I am, as in you are the student, learning how to describe a linear pattern in a scatterplot so that I can describe correlation of a dataset. I will know I have it when I can describe the correlation of a dataset. Specific TEKs we're looking at for today's lesson is 9F. Types of slopes. There are 4 types of slopes when it comes to linear equations. And this will relate to stuff that we do later with scatter plots. But for right now, when looking at a line from left to right, the orientation of that line tells us whether we have a negative, positive, no slope, or undefined slope. And again, we read graphs from left to right. So from left to right, if we see the line going down, then we say that it has a negative slope. If we see that the line is neither going up nor down, it's just a flat line from left to right, we either say that it has no slope or zero slope. From left to right, if we see that the general trend of the line is going up, we say that it has a positive slope. And if we see that the line is going both up and down, we can't tell what's going on with it at all. We can't even say there's no slope. Because it's doing both at the same time. So we say we have an undefined slope. So how does this relate to scatter plots? Scatter plots, when you graph them, can show us the general trend of that data, whether it's going in a positive direction, negative direction, or whether there's just no general trend, period. We say that there's just no slope. There's just no direction that it's going in. So in terms of scatter plots, we have something called correlation. Correlation is how strongly 2 variables are associated with one another. We're just going to be looking at the general direction of these scatter plot correlations for right now. There is more to it, but for right now, we'll just focus on the different types of correlation. So we have a positive correlation where the dots on a scatter plot form a positive trend, meaning that it's going up. Negative correlation, where the general trend of the dots is going down. Or no correlation, where we just don't notice a trend at all. There's no pattern. There's nothing that tells us whether it's going up or down. It just kind of looks like just a bunch of random dots. So that's the case for no correlation. Okay, here's an example of something for positive correlation. If you look at the age of a child and the child's height, you will find that as the child gets older, the child gets taller. And that's generally true. So starting from age 1 all the way up to age 8, look at the height values. 25, 31, 34, 36, and we'll say this is all in inches. 40, 41, 47, 55. If we graph this in a scatter plot, then we can see that from 1 to 8, these heights are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is an example of a positive correlation. Negative correlation. If you look at the age of your family's car and its value, you will find as the car gets older, the car is worth less. Now, in general, in the real world, the car gets devalued because of a certain number of factors. One, the age of the parts, the wear and tear of the vehicle as you're using it for your everyday means. Other factors that could also involve into that, like car crashes, etc., other damages, or just other values in the market where your car just ends up being worth less and less and less, especially with newer models that are being made every year. As the age of the car increases, the value of the car decreases. So notice in this example, from age 1, 30,000 is its original value, and then it decreases to 27,000, 23,500, 18,700, 15,350, 15,350. This has a negative correlation. Something with no correlation. When you look at your grades and the size of the shoe you wear, are the two related? So with the previous examples, Age and height, they're related. Age of the car and the value, those are related. And because of the different factors that we talked about, especially with cars. Do math tests and shoe size, are they related to each other in any way? Generally, no, they are not. Even if you can find a relation to them, it doesn't mean that it is a genuine relationship that they share. A genuine relation. So, from these math tests and shoe size, from this math test and shoe size graph, we can see, in general, that there is no correlation. Okay, you see some of the dots going up right there, some of the dots going down. There's no obvious correlation to it. So we would have no correlation going on. You could probably argue that there is a negative correlation, especially with this outlier over there. But in general, math tests and shoe size should not have a correlation at all. So there are different ways to describe the different variations of correlation. We have perfect negative correlation at the left, meaning that it is a perfect straight line that goes downward. We have a strong negative correlation, which means it's not perfect, but the dots are very closely close-knit all throughout the graph. Moderate or weak negative correlation just means that the graph is more spread out in terms of its dots. No correlation means the dots are just all random. Can't really tell the orientation of the dots and where they're going, either up or down. And then you have the opposite. You have the positive direction. You have a moderate or weak positive correlation, meaning that they're going up and the dots are a little bit scattered. Strong positive correlation, which means they're more close together, tight, but it's not perfect. They're still going in the positive direction, just much closer dots. And then you have the perfect positive correlation, which means it's a straight line from left to right going up. Okay, so here's an example. Which best describes the association shown in the scatter plot? So, do we have a strong positive, moderate positive, strong negative, or moderate negative correlation? If you want to pause the video and think about this before I show you the answer, go ahead. Otherwise, let's just go through what it's going to be. So, first thing we need to look at is the orientation of the graph. We know that from left to right, it's going in an upward trend. So, we know C and D, no good. Now, is this a strong positive or is this a moderate positive correlation? And the answer would be B, moderate. Because notice how this graph, notice how the dots are not as close together to comfortably say that this is a strong positive correlation. Instead, this is a moderate positive correlation. Okay, now, what I would like for y'all to do is classify the graphs as either perfect positive, strong positive, moderate negative, or no correlation. So look through these 6 graphs. Each one of these is going to be used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of these is going to be used more than once. Otherwise, everything else will be used only once. So there's only one of them that's going to be used twice. Go through these. You can use the previous examples or this chart right here to help you understand which ones you're supposed to be classifying these and see if you can get the right answer. I believe on the next page on ClassKick, if you're on ClassKick, I can reveal the answers, or you can reveal the answers and see if you did everything correctly. So go ahead, pause the video, try this out on your own. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on and show y'all what the answers are. Okay, let's look at the next page. Let's look what's behind here. And we have perfect positive because it's a straight line. Strong positive because notice how the dots are close together. Not all the way, but enough to where we can say that this is a strong positive. Notice for the third number, or the third one right here from the top, it's going in a downward trend, but not really so close together. So either we say moderate or weak negative. Either one is acceptable. Moderate, just because that's what we had in the in what you can put down for your answers. Moderate negative. You could possibly argue this is strong, but for right now we'll go moderate because of this outlier here. So moderate negative. We have two moderate negatives. We have the middle from the bottom, no correlation. We can't tell whether it's going up or down. And then we have moderate positive for the bottom right because we can tell it's going in an upward direction, but the dots, they're not as close together. So we say either moderate or weak, depending on what answers you're given for these problems. That's it for you try number 1. Okay, and that's it for part 1 of the notes. I'm going to do part 2 in another separate video that goes into more detail about the different types of correlations. So just be on the lookout for that. If you need anything, you have my phone number and email right there. Phone is text or call. Anything after 5 p.m., I will try to answer, but just know that I am technically off of work from that. This is an old slide that I forgot to update, so this should be 830-9336. And there is no office hours this year for whatever reason. So make sure you use my phone number and email if y'all need anything. Okay? So that's all I got for this video. Take it easy, everybody.